this Reservoir Dogs shit you're doing right now?
Looks like you stole that jacket off a dead Kiss roadie.
Well, it'll be the first time I suck you dead. Certainly will not be the last. Psycho Bastardo show, motherfucker!
Coming at you from St. Elmo's Soundstage, it's the Psycho Bastardo show.
Our first guest on the talking head behind us is responsible for making some great fucking leather work, metal work, has become a staple in so many people's wardrobe.
Look at this. Can I walk it over to the camera?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Like, look at this right here. This came off of Hunter's foot, and I mean, I just want to turn this around.
And when you see the logo for the show, which y'all have done by now, that is more or less exactly the fucking logo,
so, yeah,
piece for piece.
This is amazing. This is Pascal's work. This guy is incredible work.
And
Thank you.
To elaborate, that's Mr. Pascal from Hollywood Riff Raff. How are you doing, sir?
Very good. Good to see you guys, and thank you very much for inviting me on your show. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Sure, man.
A pleasure.
Man, so much ground to cover, and you are easily one of the easiest people to talk to ever. So to start somewhere, fucking tell us about your origin story. How did you find your art? How did you really just know this was what you were going to do? Like from if you could.
Well, it's a long story. It actually kind of happened to me. Leather work was just something I did as a teenager when I was a kid, just for fun, little stuff like wallets and belts and stuff like that. But I was always, people were always ordering stuff from me. I was always, doing that kind of work. I'm originally from France. I was born in Clermont-Ferrand, which is in central France. Far away from Paris, nothing glamorous there, and I came to LA in '89. I was 21 years old. I'm an old goat, and I came here to play rock and roll because I was a musician. I played bass guitar, and I came to LA to play rock. And of course, at the time I didn't know that I have no talent, and everything fell apart. Like my music career ended before it even started. And a funny thing happened is I started, I kept doing, a little bit of leather work, and, it's like, it got, to be a little more, and eventually I found myself working in a very high-end retail store in LA where I was doing custom belts and some custom work. I was not making boots yet. They kind of lured me in as a, hey, come here, and you can learn to make boots. So, I went there and I served 4 years there, eventually, I got fired from that place, and that's when I decided. You know what? I wanted to make boots, and I'm doing it now. And leather work was something I kept running away from. It was always just going to be a hobby. I never thought of it professionally. And it's like in '96, I made my first pair of boots, and immediately that day, somebody ordered a pair from me, and and I started making boots for other people, and I realized that maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. And once I accepted that and really fully embraced leatherwork as my life, everything fell into place, and it's been great ever since. I made my first pair of boots in '96, and here I am, still at it.
Damn, that's
so.
And from what I understand, we're coming at you live from your workshop, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's where I spend my life. I'm chained to the bench. You don't see it, but there's actually there's a shackle at my ankle that is to the bench. I just got enough chain to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then I guess as you started exploring, like doing more leather work, doing more boot work, you eventually found how does finding a style in the world of leather work? Because every art has its own way, you know?
It's funny you mentioned that. A fellow bootmaker asked me a few months ago. He was like, you have a distinctive style. How do I get that? And it just happens.
Okay.
You put yourself fully into it. You just immerse yourself in your work, give it everything you got, and focus on doing the work right rather than fast or try to emulate something else. Just try to do the best work that you can, and your own style will emerge. It doesn't happen overnight. It took me about 5 6 years until my work was very definitive. That people were telling me, "Oh, I saw a pair of your boots." I'm like, "How did you know they were mine?"
Yeah.
And they go up just because of the way they look.
That's fucking
It's organic. It happens by itself.
That's so cool. Do you have any little projects in the pipeline you could like to show us through the little head?
Oh yeah, certainly. Just before you were calling, I was sewing. I'm working on a pair of boots right now for Chris Richardson of the LA Speed Shop. He's a famous bike builder.
Nice.
So these are going to be
Wow.
the tops of. That's the tops of these boots. That's the back panel. The bottom panel is going to be. That's the heel part of the boot.
Yeah.
So it's still in the flat process.
That's fucking cool.
And from that process, you assemble the front and the back, and you end up with this, which is another pair of boots that are shark skin that are going to Japan.
Yeah.
That's and after you close, it, you put it on the last. The last is, that's a last. Each I make one for each customer. I put their name on it, and that's theirs. And then you basically put the other part on it, and now the boots is basically ready to have the outsole and the peg put in and stack the heel, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. And as far as could you talk a little bit about a signature that you do for your boots that's kind of awesome? We got a little glimpse of it there on the monitor, and as far as the messages.
Oh yeah, this part here is called you have the insole, and you have a gap here. Once you're done in seaming, you have this gap here that you fill with a piece of leather, and I just write little stuff. It's a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Whoever down the line gets the boots resoled when they when they go to a shoe repair to have the boot resoled. When they peel the boot out, they'll have a little message for them. Wondering who the hell was making this.
It's like like a one-way sort of dialogue towards the fellow bootman.
Yeah, it's a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink for whoever's gonna look inside of them in the future.
That's so cool. Do you have a favorite or a more memorable message that you've written in people's boots in the past?
The very first one that I wrote. Mm-hmm. The very first one that I wrote was a pair of boots that I was making for Lemmy Kilmister, and I wrote "Born to Kick Your Ass," which is a line from the song "We Are Motorhead." That's the first one that I ever wrote, and to me that's the most significant one.
That's fucking awesome. And from what I understand, for those who haven't seen it, there is a documentary on Lemmy out in the Netflix world. And you have been interviewed in such documentary, and I guess going in a little bit more into your, sort of friendship that you've built with Lemmy over the years. How did that all come about?
It all came about. How I met him was kind of by accident. I know this lady in LA who's a country singer. She writes a lot of songs for other people, and one day, we're talking. She's like, "Oh, you're a custom boot maker in LA. You must be doing great with all these stars." And I told her, actually, a lot of stars want to get comped everything. And and I told her the only person I would ever comp a pair of boots to is Lemmy Kilmister. And she said, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I'll tell him. He's a friend of mine." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, you do that." Thinking, "Yeah, right." And the following day, my phone rang, and she's like, "Were you serious when you said you make a pair for Lemmy?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Can I bring him over now?" And an hour later, I was measuring him. And so I made him his first pair of boots, and he immediately ordered another pair. And it was like that for 15 years.
Damn.
I would deliver a pair, and he would order another. And he would call me from the road and send me sketches and say, "Hey, can you have this done for me? I'll be back in LA in 3 months." That kind of stuff. And it went on, and we became really, really tight.
That's fucking.
We were,
That's so cool. Like,
I mean, very few. I mean, how many rock stars call you on your birthday?
None.
Yeah.
No, none called me on my last birthday.
once you're in that stratosphere, that world, a lot of people tend to lose the people that are important to them along the way. But Lemmy doesn't seem like one of those guys.
Yeah, the thing is, what's amazing, it's a crazy world that they live in. They're always, it's like either like on a bus, on a stage, running in a hotel or out doing press, doing that kind of stuff. And it's easy to lose sight of anything when it's a whirlwind. A band on the road, it's a tornado just rolling from town to town. And for someone in that tornado to remember and take the time to call you on your birthday when the guy was in fucking Germany when he did that.
Wow.
It's like, it was huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then that's just what seems like the beginning of just all of these experiences and stories that you've just, when we first talked, just an endless treasure trove of stories. But just to dive a little bit into that, what are some of your more favorite customers that came into the store you were working at?
My favorite one, top of the line, front and center, Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
I'm a total geek. I'm a super, like original Star Trek nerd. It's like, I'm a geek. I face it. I guess they say it's the first step of recovery, accepting it. So, Leonard Nimoy came in the store, and I was just completely in awe of that guy. And he was such a gentleman. He was with his wife, and it's like at that store, because every star, the who's who of the world, like from movie stars, producers, politicians, everybody came to shop there. So the rule was like, you don't bother them, you don't play Starstruck or any of that stuff, you don't. And that day I just dropped it.
Yeah.
And I told his wife, it's like, okay, I don't want to sound like a geek, but I'm a huge fan, of his. And she's like, "Oh, Lenny, come here, he's a fan of yours." And we talked Star Trek for probably about 20, 30 minutes. And he was such a gentleman, really. I couldn't tell you how many movie stars, celebrities I met, but this guy is really at the top. He was just wonderful. He was everything you would expect Mr. Spock to be.
Wow. That's saying a lot, 'cause I expect more from
Really
Spock than like a real human being.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, I think the character Spock worked so well because he was a lot like that. He really was a kind, calm, very nice man. And, I think it's like, and part of Spock rubbed into him and him into, it was just like the merger of it was just like, there was like the perfect storm of why it worked so well.
Wow.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And another memorable one at that store was Leonard Nimoy at very first, and a close second would be when I got to deal with the Yakuza boss.
Yeah.
Tell us
That-
more about the Yakuza boss.
Yeah, this elderly gentleman comes in, it's like like in a suit with a giant tie. The knot of this tie was enormous. And older guy with a younger translator and two goons. Two giant Japanese guys. And I took him in the back to help the guy with some boots. He was buying gifts for friends and family and himself, stuff like that. And I'm looking at you can really sense that he's a person of power. The translator is like bowing all the time and all of them. Like, this is not your average person that I'm dealing with, And I'm looking at the bodyguards, and I noticed one of them had a half pinky. And that's when the whole thing just like, whoa, I'm dealing with a Yakuza boss. It's like that guy was a heavyweight. It's just like, wow, that was pretty interesting. And I'm really into Japanese tattoos. And and I asked him, hey, show me your back. And the translator just turned blue. The guy just went blue. And he didn't say anything. I'm like, come on, ask him to show me his back. And the guy just grunted something to the translator, and the guy just like loud and just said something in Japanese like really low, and the guy just looked at me like,
Wow.
I'm like, okay, fine, okay. I'm like, okay, well, I'll show you mine, and then you'll show me yours. And I turn around and I lift my shirt and I show him my back, and I have a full back Japanese. And the guy's like, oh, and all of a sudden he starts looking at my tattoo, and then he's like, and I told him, I was like, now I see yours. It's like, oh, it's like, and he took off his ties, and he took off his shirt. That was absolutely funny as hell, and then he made his bodyguards took off their shirts. And, everybody in the store, I was working with a bunch of girls, and they're like, what's going on back there? There's like, Pascal is with like 3 guys with their shirts off, and it's just like a tattoo show going on in the store. And these guys were in the store for about an hour without shirts.
Yeah.
And the guy was just buying and buying and buying. It was just pretty funny. I had like, I had a bit of a heart-to-heart conversation with him too through the translator. That was very interesting. On I mean, what I didn't know is I breached a huge rule of etiquette in Japan, and now I know you don't ask a guy show your back, but it was just I didn't know at the time. But the guy was really, really nice. Very fun experience,
Man,
Definitely something I will remember.
to be in a situation like that, let alone fucking see one, man. It's
Well, I mean, it's just not every day that you like put your foot in it with a Yakuza boss.
yeah. No,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not every day that you really just like break the damn rules with a guy that, like they could have sushied me on the spot. It's just that was pretty. That was funny. The guy was really nice. I wondered how did these guys get to the States? Because I mean, it's like how do you, I don't know.
I'm sure it was much.
After they left, I was discussing that with the girls at the store, and I told them, this the missing pinky and all that, and they're like, wow, yeah, you're right. It's like how the hell did he get here? Just
God damn.
it was just supposed to happen.
And I guess tapping into like your journey into music for a little bit, like how long exactly did that run for you? And like
I came here in '89, and I really hung it up in '92. Things had really, really changed, and the grunge thing had happened.
Yeah.
And I was into my LA bands were guys like Junkyard and Faster Pussycat and Little Caesar, and all that overnight disappeared. Everybody just put on a flannel and shaved their head, and now everybody was a grunger. And I was like, it was not for me. So, rather than just try to cling onto something that was just, a ship that had sunk, it's better to try to, and I went back to what I know to do, which is doing leather work.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like I said before, it would have never worked anyway because, I have, my talent, I was not supposed to do that. Eventually, once I accepted it, things went a lot smoother.
Right.
So I want to ask you a question. We talked briefly the other day. One day you got a call to make a gun holster for a film for a fat man.
Yes.
For a fat man.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the holster and the fat man?
Well, same thing. It's when I was working at that store, and we were doing a lot of stuff for movies, a lot of leather props and stuff like that. So one day, we get the call. It's like, somebody's got to go measure somebody for a gun holster, but it's for somebody very fat. And the owner, didn't want to go. He's like, okay, you go to that address and go measure the fat guy for a holster and find out what gun it's going to be. So because you can get those molds, plastic mold of the exact gun, so you can wet form the leather on it.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. I go there and I go to this place, and I'm received by bodyguards, and I tell them what I'm here for, and they're like, "Oh, okay, just a minute," and another guy comes to get me in a golf cart, and they take me to the back to like a bungalow, and they walk me around the bungalow, and in the back there's a swimming pool, and there's a really fat person sitting there, like a big moo, just like he looks like somebody just dropped a parachute on him, just like a really really fat person. And I walk, and I turn around, and I look, and it was Marlon Brando.
Wow.
And that was like, I'm like, I'm face to face with Don Corleone. That's and he's one of my favorite actors of all time.
Sure.
And I measured him for that holster. I don't think the movie ever got made. I don't know. I never heard of any of that ever being made, because that happens a lot also in Hollywood. And I got to spend a couple hours. It's like it's like, you want coffee? I'm like, yeah. So we sat down and had coffee and chat for about a good 2 hours.
That's amazing.
That was really great.
And he was treated you like a peer, more or less?
He was extremely nice, polite, friendly, just a genuine gentleman. I mean, I was completely starstruck, and after about 20, 30 minutes, I felt like I was talking with, like I am right now. Just a, really, really nice person. Great. That was a big moment also.
Absolutely. How could it not be? A big moment with a big guy.
Yeah, big guy. Wow. But you can see it, when you see Brando when he's young, he's a handsome guy.
Oh my God, no one was ever more handsome when he was young.
Yeah.
He was Adonis,
I know, but you can tell that.
Absolutely.
But you see him when he's young, you can tell that he's gonna plump up nicely. Like Elvis. You see a young Elvis, it's like, yeah, he's really handsome, but he probably should exercise a bit. And because, you can tell that he's gonna balloon nice, and that's exactly what happened. Maybe it's just a skill I have, but let me look at you when you're young, I'll tell you your weight in 20 years.
Man, I guess another story, since we're like digging through from like our talks yesterday, something that a story that really resonates with me as well was particularly your introduction into the WWE family. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, what a cool story.
Yeah, that was super cool. Now, you know that Motorhead does the entry song for Triple H.
yeah, the game.
The game. And one day, he calls me. He goes, "Hey, the guy that we do these entrance for, his name is," because he didn't know that I knew. It's like, because wrestling was not in Lemmy's world. And he goes, this guy Triple H likes my boots, and he'd like to know if you'd make him a pair. I'm like, of course, So he goes, okay, I'm gonna give him your number, and it's like, okay. So a few days, maybe weeks later, Triple H calls me. And and he asked me, it's like, would you make me a pair of boots? I'm like, certainly. And he goes, we're touring all the time, but we're gonna be in LA in about like 6 or 8 weeks. Can I meet you then? I'm like, certainly. So a few days before they're in LA, he calls me and he goes, would it be possible for you to come measure me at the venue? Because it's like I lived in the north part of LA and they were in downtown. I'm like, certainly. He goes, and I'll make sure that you have like all the passes, access, and all that. And, I told him, I need to measure you before. Because it's like you sweat, you wrestle and all that, everything's going to swell up. So I need to have you before your feet swell up, and I get a true measurement of your feet. He goes, okay, no problem. And the day before I'm supposed to go there, he calls me. He goes, my father-in-law would like you to make him a pair of boots also. Would you do that? I'm like, of course. He goes, okay, so you'll measure both of us? I'm like, yeah. So I get there, and WWE organization is the most stellar thing I have ever seen. I've been to a lot of shows where I'm supposed to be on. Yeah, I'm supposed to be on the list and all of that, and everything is a nightmare. It's like, yes, you're on the list, but we don't have a pass, or how did you get the pass? You're not on the list, that kind of stuff. You walk in there, and there's a guy with a headset, like, yes, okay, right here. The guy comes get you in the parking lot. It's just, not a hitch anywhere. Absolute stellar organization. And I got to measure Vince McMahon. That was on Monday night. So it's like Monday Night Raw. The show is ongoing. He's in an office with all the monitors, pretty much directing the show. as I am measuring his feet, talking about his boots, while another guy comes in, presents his new theme song and listens to it, and he's directing all of that at once perfectly. I mean, in the world of multitasking, there's like Vince McMahon and everybody else. He's just like I've never seen multitasking on that level. It was really impressive to see.
It's like
With the best suit I ever saw. Also, just, the guy had like a perfect suit, just fitted perfectly, just like it's suit, but still you look like you could rob a bank with it. It had that John Dillinger feel.
You don't even need a gun, just the suit. You just go in and ask
Exactly.
for money.
It's all he has to do is walk in a bank with a violin case, and they'll just give him money. And if you ever want to feel small in life, go backstage at a WWE event.
oh my god, forget about it, man.
It's like everyone. I don't think I saw anybody that was under 6'4". They're just and super nice people, really really nice, friendly. Just total gentlemen across the board.
Wow.
From the guys that just comes, from the guy that gets you in the security guy that gets you in the parking lot to Vince McMahon. Everybody's an absolute gentleman. It was really great.
It seems like if
That
the
was
guy
fun.
at the top is such a gentleman that he probably doesn't put up with too much of it beneath him. He holds everyone to a high standard, it would seem.
He sets the standard.
That's great.
That's it.
That's what bosses should do, is set the standard.
Exactly. I always say any group of people is a microcosm of society. And the analogy that I always do is like a ship at sea. A ship is only as good as its captain, and a captain is only as good as its crew. And everybody relies on each other. And it's just that symbiotic, like merging of everyone together that makes things work. And no wonder they are where they are. They are the top of the heap in their field. There's no question about it.
Another question we got is how do you go through the creative process as far as designing the leather work and the metal work? Like, how does that work out for you?
Well, since I'm a custom shop, I do one-offs. So everything is based on the customer's wants and needs. People come at me, they come to me and say, oh, I want a pair of, like red boots with, like blue stitch, and I want like, I'm into blacksmithing, I want like, an anvil and a hammer, they give me ideas of what they want, and then I just, make everything work together and flow together, and I get inspiration out of anything. I get a lot of inspiration from wrought iron fences. There's something about them. Wrought iron fences always have beautiful curves and like Middle Eastern curves and curvatures in everything that I really really like, which I think complement the shape of a cowboy boot. And I put a lot of that in it, but it's really it's like I start with a blank page of paper and I draw a few lines. And go from there. I never really have a straight idea of what I'm going to do until I start doing it.
So, how often, or if at all, are the clients involved midway through the process? Do they give you a little inspiration and then you say, hey, I'll tell you when your boots are done? Or do you send them photographs of your drawings or anything and then get feedback from the customer?
That's what I do. It's like they give me an idea of what they want, and I will draw the boot.
And you do send that to them and get more feedback through the process?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Until they're like, that's it. That's what I like. That's what I want to do that. And the thing is, between the idea that they give me and the drawing that I present, sometimes 2 or 3 different drawings, because it's an evolving process. There's more and more of me in it, and it's happened very often that people come at me with an idea and I just run with it, and and they end up with something that was very different from what they were expecting at first, but they are very happy with, because it had time to evolve and develop into something that was a little bit more sophisticated, maybe a little bit more thought in it than just like I said, an anvil in the middle of a boot. It's like, yeah, I can do that, but what if we did the anvil like this and like that, so it flows with everything. Because to me, it's very important to for a boot to be like, to have a flow from top to bottom and and front and back. It's a whole thing. It's not a bunch of little things stamped together and assembled into one boot, because that never looks right.
And I guess there are some cases where the client refuses to be creative and 100% what other people do, and like how do you go
Yes.
about shutting down, if at all, like copycats essentially of other designs?
Well, if people come at me and say, I want you to copy this, I tell them, then go see that person. Go see the person who made that.
Yeah.
It's happened to me. And I also have people that are like really set as, I want this color and 3 rows of that thread and 1 row of that thread. And if they are not open to listening to anything that I may put in, then I do exactly what they want. It's like, I'm going to do exactly what you asked me to do, because you don't listen to anything that I say. And in the end, we will compare
Right.
what I made for you and what I could have done for you. And every time they're like, I should have listened to you. Which is, at first it's a little, it makes you a little angry. But what happened is, immediately they come back at you and order something else, and then they let you run. They're like, you know what, I was wrong the first time. Now, this is the big idea. Run with it. And now they're so super happy. So I have a lot of customers that started like that, and now they just call me and just give me like colors. I want a pair of brown boots with a red top. Do what you want. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. It also helps to just have, I find, just one parameter or 2 parameters, because sometimes I feel like a completely blank slate is a little intimidating, but if you just tell me one thing to narrow it down, then it's like, okay, I got it from there.
Exactly. Give me a vague direction. Something I can go to and run with, and that's always the best. You don't want them to come with no ideas, and you don't want them to come with a definite idea of what they expect, because your mind and reality are 2 different things. And it's like, because I make boots, I can actually picture a boot completely done before it's done, because this is what I do. But for most people, they just have an idea of what they want the boot to make, and they think this idea is absolutely perfect. And there are little things that go in the process that this is not going to work. We should change that ahead of time, so we don't run into that problem. Because you have the construction aspects of things, like the mechanical aspects of things. It's like, it has to work before anything else. It has to work. And if I put a seam here, now we've created a weak point. You're going to have a weak boot. Let's move this 2 inches over, and now we have what you wanted, and a boot that functions. It's just the mechanical aspects of it that you have to make them to understand. It's like, and it's my job to make to make people understand that and see it and explain it. And very often I look at it, it's like, if they don't get it, it's because I'm not explaining it right.
Right.
Because there's it's a lot of communications, finding out what they want, what they expect, because it's not cheap. It's a handmade product that takes a minimum of 50 hours to make. It's not going to be cheap at the end, so they should be happy with it. It's just, and I want them to be happy, and I want them to be happy years down the line, not just when they look at it and it's done.
Right.
That's the way I approach things.
Pascal, of what you've got working right now, what are you most excited about?
What I am most excited about is actually this green boot. I'm really, really excited with. It's a very classic cowboy boot that I'm just putting a little flair in it, because I've been known to make like all these fancy boots for rock stars. So people come at me with like super fancy stuff all the time, and I like going back to basics and just creating just a cool, rugged cowboy boot.
Yeah.
That's my primary love, and I'm very happy when I get to just do that.
Yeah, that seems
Once in a while,
nice to do something elegant and not as flashy.
Exactly.
What, in terms of, maybe popular aesthetic, what are people asking for right now? Like what's kind of like, a happening thing that people ask you for, real recently?
Recently, I noticed in the last couple of years, people want this kind of square box toe boot. It's not really, really broad like a cavalry boots. It's more like a vintage 50s. Cowboy boots in the 50s had these kind of toes a lot, and I've been making these a lot in the last couple of years. That's really what I noticed being like the big. That's what I see a trend as people wanted very 50s looking toes and heels, as far as boots go. Is
it just an aesthetic choice, or is there any sort of like functional reason that would be preferred?
I think it's just a question of aesthetics. People, I've done a lot of them, and people see my boots and come find me because I'm the guy who does these toes, and that there's also that, and so yeah, people see what you do, they like it, and they want the same thing that they saw, but their version of it.
Right. Sure.
That. And I do a lot of mule ears also. Mule ears are these long pull straps that go all the way down the side of a boot, all the way to the heel. And I make mine extra long. I make them pretty much go like almost to the ground. So that's also kind of one of my trademarks. That's something that I did for Lemmy. Pretty much the majority of his boots had mule ears. And I noticed there was a time when you didn't see that at all. That's when I started making them, because you saw mule ears a lot in the 50s and 60s. And then they vanished, and I started doing a few pairs of boots for myself and for friends and family, stuff like that, making boots with mule ears on them, and you have people that go, "Ooh, wait, I really like the boots, but I don't like these long things," and you have a lot of people go like, "I love these long things hanging down," so it's something that I think, I don't want to say I brought it back, but I hardly saw any before I started doing them. So my contribution.
No, it's wonderful.
The Psycho Bastardo Show.
Here to wake Hunter the fuck up from their new album, Another World. The song is Don't Let Go. This is Jessikill.
Yeah.
the Psycho Bastardo Show.
So here we are at the skull-shaped soapbox, where we're going to talk about damn near anything we want to talk about. Right now, I want to talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
You said you wanted to talk about it, so let's go ahead.
Okay. So basically, like, whenever you see that red balloon there, like that's going to be...
Oh.
Yeah.
It. He wants to talk about it.
So this is the spoiler balloon. Whenever you see this and you don't want to know what it's about, even though you should have read that fucking thing when you were like 6.
And, you know, I'm sure that you've seen this picture, but if you haven't, we're going to talk about it. And if you don't want to hear about it, don't watch until we pop this balloon.
And the whole soapbox lasts 15 minutes, so let's not waste any more time. Get right to it.
Okay.
All right. So you actually saw it in a theater.
I saw it last night.
Okay. And I saw it from the comfort of my home, the Russian version that someone recorded in the back of a theater called Oho.
Okay.
So I strictly was going through a visual criteria.
Okay.
So as someone that has understood what was being said, what'd you think about it?
I didn't think it was very scary. I don't want to start. I guess I shouldn't start with that criticism. I should say something nice to lend my criticism some weight.
Yeah.
I thought it was like the ultimate 7th grade slumber party horror movie, it's an R-rated movie, but for like 12-year-olds. It's not rated R because it's ghastly or scary. It's rated R because the one kid from Stranger Things says fuck like 6 times in it.
Fuck that though.
It's not a good reason to rate your movie R. I wish it had been scarier. I feel like every time that they set up a scene for a scare, the scare came like A, C. Like they never like developed any atmosphere or suspense, or it was just like, here comes the monster and here's the monster.
Yeah.
And I love monsters. Well, I even really enjoyed some of the imagery in it. I just would have liked, just make me wait on it a second. Like give me some time to chew my fingernails off or something, because I'm worried about these kids' welfare. But instead it's just like, bang, bang. It just
But since I don't speak Russian, I was just going through a visual criteria, and in the book, they had really hokey shit as the fucking, like, things like mummy and a werewolf and some shit like that, right? Or am I wrong? Or whatever?
It's been so long since I've read the book, I can only talk to you about the film,
If I fuck
honestly.
that up, whatever. But anyways, I think that the forms it takes that aren't a clown in the movie are just kind of fucking stock. Except for the painting, I guess.
I'll tell you an image I particularly liked that it was still the clown, but I thought was very cool is...
Oh, if we're talking about that, then easily the projection thing.
Right, because when he comes out of the projector, he's not clown-sized, he's giant, and it's really crazy. He climbs out of the screen like the ring.
Yeah.
But it's out of a... Yeah, that moment's a pretty cool moment, but again, that scene is like 2 minutes before that happens, and I'm just like, let me soak in a scene before you give me the monster. It really just felt like a pop-up book where there's a monster on every page.
But what do you have to comment? What do you have to say about like the forms that it takes? Are they pretty fucking generic?
What am I supposed to look at besides the clown? There was a leper, the leper that chases the one kid around the well house, and then there was I don't know.
Exactly. It's just that's what I mean. It's just all zombies.
Even the painting was also humanoid. It would have been nice if one of the monsters didn't have arms and legs or something.
I was okay with the painting because it's still
weird.
It was
very weird.
It was on that. Yeah, it very much had the uncanny valley thing going on for it. A little bit better than just straight up fucking human zombie kids and people.
Another criticism, I guess, personal disappointment about the film was that the opening scene, which a lot of people saw as a kind of extended preview if they saw Annabelle, or I know that some people just saw that opening scene, that scene stands alone very well and it's very scary. And even more, what's his name? Bill Skarsgård actually gets to be the character and say more than one sentence as Pennywise, and he's really good and different than Tim Curry. But in the entire rest of the film, that opening scene accounts for 60 to 70% of his dialogue. Every other line he has is one line in a scene, and that's it. And I just feel you cast somebody really well. Your design of the clown was new and different and cool. And I just feel like they didn't let him do perform as much as he could have. He's pretty good in it.
For anybody that's seen Annabelle Creations, like their whole gimmick to get you to come out was, we're gonna show 4 minutes of it, and it's gonna be amazing.
And it was probably the best part of the whole movie.
Yeah, they showed the best part of the movie at fucking another movie, which is
it worked though, because everybody went and saw the movie this weekend.
It got me to look it up online, the Russian version for free. Yeah.
Well, I'll say shame on you, but way to save your nickel, because I don't know that you needed to spend money on it.
Yeah, well, it's just like, I need to tell people I'm not a complete piece of shit for looking stuff up online. I'll do that sort of as like, I feel out my options of if I'm going to vote for something, wallet-wise. And there have been cases where I've seen things online, like the fucking Lego movie. I saw that online. I was like, okay, I know you hate the fucking Lego movie a lot, but I was entertained enough to pay to see it after I saw a Spanish, I think, copy of the Lego movie. I think it was just called the Lego movie.
I don't want to get into the Lego movie, man.
That's another fucking time for another.
That's a whole nother show.
Holy shit. Okay. So did you make your peace with all the things you wanted to say about it? I got like one more remark. I
got nothing else.
Okay. So my last remark, all the humanoid zombie things. I'm done with zombies. Like as a consumer, like I'm just done with fucking zombies. Because I don't know, it's kind of probably a big thing to say. That's just me. I think like whenever George Romero died, he took the zombies with him, because I've just stopped caring about fucking anything zombie related this year.
My only caveat for that is, if by some rare chance George's producer that he worked with on the last couple of films is able to like produce his In the Wing script that was called like Race of the Dead or something. It's supposed to be like
sounded cool.
Death Race 2000 plus zombies. I'm like, I'll try it. I'll try that.
It sounds
if you have the George Romero pedigree, I'll try it. But other than that, I'm done too.
I would definitely do like looking it up online before I pay to see it. I will definitely check it out.
I say buy the ticket, take the ride.
Well, I say ask around. Actually, no, that's not a good comparison. A good comparison would be write it for free and then write it again if you like it that much. That's my piece with that.
I think that's all on it, right?
Okay.
I can pop the spoiler balloon?
Yeah, we're done talking about it. Damn. Fuck it. Anyway, so
what's next?
Now, like I'm guessing fucking a micro concert review thing. We've seen some concerts in the last 2 weeks.
We each have seen a concert
of some guys who have been around for 20 plus years.
Yours even longer, yes?
Yes. And so
I'll go first because your band's better.
Okay.
I saw a couple of nights ago, I saw Green Day. I saw Green Day on their first night of their first arena tour. I've never seen Green Day before. I know that they are, known for a certain type of show in smaller venues. And I say they're having some growing pains, growing to a larger venue size, it seems. The type of audience interaction that they're used to, I think, doesn't quite fly as well when you've got 15,000 people in front of you. I could tell, but I think they were smart enough to play to both sets of crowds, their diehard fans and also kind of casual fans. I think everyone had a good time at the Green Day show, but yeah, there's some growing pains. But you saw Social Distortion.
At the Aztec Theater. Did
Fantastic.
you talk about you talked about
I saw it at the Circuit of the Americas, which was my first time there, and I thought it was going to be an even bigger venue, and it was kind of only behind the racetrack, and so that was I liked the venue. It was cool.
Okay. Yeah, and then
But tell us about Social D.
Okay, yeah, so Social D at the Aztec Theater, my first time going. Fucking, on top of it just being huge, still, like, it's almost like if the House of Blues got roided up and just fucking...
I like the idea of a venue roiding up.
Yeah, roiding up and just has like an Aztec fucking look. I love fucking that kind of aesthetic. But yeah, whenever they came on and played, like it seemed like they weren't really going by requests. In fact, like Mike Ness at one point was just asking, all right, what do y'all want me to play next? And when you've got a crowd of like however many fucking people the Aztec Theater can hold, you imagine it just like being ear rape. Basically.
Just like cacophony, right? Everybody yells out a different song title at once.
Everyone's screaming different phrases at different times, and it's just fucking... Yeah,
it does seem like a ridiculous place to ask that question, because obviously you're not going to get a
Because it's been 10 straight minutes of him just like, I'm waiting on you guys. Tell us what we're going to do. Like, he really soaked it in. He really just, like, fucking twisted it in. No, like he played almost every song that I wanted to hear, just about. But he was doing so good, and it's just everything was going so fucking well. And then something happened that night that made me realize how important it is for anybody in the entertainment industry when they're at a show or at a movie, going somewhere for escapism, that they don't bring the real world down on the audience. Because right then and there, he just snapped in, and from my fucking opinion, like basically became an almost Ted Nugent type, very just advocating just some bullshit going on outside no one wanted to hear. In fact, I heard 10 people behind me saying what I was thinking the whole time. We didn't come to listen to this. Play some music. Play this.
And that's not even a political opinion. That's just an opinion about the money that you spend on your evening.
Right.
It's not about, I feel differently than the rock star on stage's opinion. It's like, no. If I wanted to go to a philosophical essay, I would have gone to listen to somebody talk.
Yes.
But I paid my money and I'm spending my evening to listen to you play rock and roll.
Yeah.
So please give me what I paid for.
I would go to people where, if that's part of their act, like I'll go to RATM if I want to hear anything political. I'll go see Public Enemy if I want to hear anything political as part of the act. But
to be fair, isn't punk political in its nature?
It is.
If you're a punk band that's not political, you're not really a punk band, are you?
I know, but it's just, I thought they were going to do that in a subtle way, because when I noticed they were...
Is punk a genre known for its subtlety?
No.
Well.
But this is like what I was expecting, just as someone that didn't come in thinking like that. Like with the way that they were set dressing, they had all this retro shit from the 50s and stuff, and then they had like a portrait, like clown painting with like our fucking president on there, and I was like, okay, that's as far as it'll go, whatever. And then bam, like just ripped into it, just sucked everyone out, me and like 11 other people at least, because it was silent otherwise. Everyone else was unplugged.
Yeah, I feel like you're right that you better be super aware of where your audience is, because it's a tie wire act if you're gonna keep them or lose them.
But it was okay, because they now, in the grand scheme of things, they played just about everything I wanted to hear. I got in fucking tussles with people, real fucking, almost, I haven't been in a crowd that great since Slipknot played in Dallas in Halloween, and everyone was really just, not beating the shit out of each other.
So what you're telling me is that there was a trough, but they dug themselves out of it and rocked for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
So it's overall, it was good.
That's great. I like to hear it.
And it didn't stop me from buying a fucking shirt afterward, apparently.
Well, that's...
So, yeah.
Mission accomplished.
That's how you vote for movies with ticket sales, but you vote for, I guess, concerts with shirts, or if not ticket sales.
You voted by going to the concert,
yeah,
I think.
Okay.
I am more of the, I'll just listen to that on YouTube, but I'm going to vote by going to see you when you come to town.
Right.
When it comes to music, I'm a little more I'll just do it on the internet.
Gotcha.
But for my favorite bands, I'm but when you come, I'm going to come put the money right in your hands.
Right. And then, there's a fucking, if we could get a close-up on that, there's a fucking hornet up in the fucking light up there.
It's very loud.
Yeah,
and
just
freaky.
really.
Oh, well.
Fuck it.
That hornet was the last of our, yeah.
No more time.
Whatever.
We can't talk about that anymore.
I guess we're going to move on to the next subject.
We got to move on.
The Psycho Bastardo Show.
We're moving on to our pick of the weeks. Between us and the guest, any sort of music, film, books, piece of art, anything that the audience has to just see immediately when we're done. And we'll start with you, Pascal. What's your pick of the week?
Well, since I am live in Texas, I'm going to I nominate the greatest Texan of all time, Bill Hicks. Just go online, buy whatever any Bill Hicks thing you can see or hear. If you don't know him, he will change your life. I personally think that, and it's very interesting how he died at 33 years old. I think he was a modern day Messiah. He was sent on earth to enlighten us, and nobody noticed, and he just went. And I really think Bill Hicks was a Messiah, and George Carlin was his prophet. And just please, Texans and people all over the world, go listen to Bill Hicks, and he will change. He will change your life if you don't know him.
That's awesome.
It's a great one.
What's your pick of the week?
My pick this week is going to be, I recently picked up a Screaming Trees record called Sweet Oblivion, and it's a record from 1992, and it's the grunge stuff that Pascal doesn't like, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying it right now.
For sure. And then I guess my pick of the week, stealing from you the other day, was a double feature film-wise. Watch The Aviator and The Wind Rises back to back whenever you can. Like, that shit just pairs really fucking
Yeah, I mean, you have both, they're basically concurrent films, and you have one aviation genius in Japan and one in America that, you know, basically furthering aeronautics at, you know, during the 40s.
Right.
I know, it's a great double feature, man.
Sweet. All right. And I guess that is everything. Like, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Yeah, Pascal, thank you so much for all of the time you spent with us and the illumination that you shared with us.
Thank you very much. And again, I feel very privileged to have been on your show. Thank you very much. It was a great time.
The Psycho Bastardo Show.
It's just about midnight, I'm floating in a tree. Except I'm wide awake, reliving a memory of what we used to have, the things we used to do. You should have given up when I tried something new. You had no idea what you've done to me. I assure you, baby, nothing is worth
at PBS. Remember, weaponize your art.
But use your weapon responsibly.